Hi, okay, I'm going to show you today how to make a stuffed chicken marsala. It's going to be based on a roulade, which is chicken breast. Butterfly it, open it up like this, and then we're going to pound it out very thin. Stuff it with our ingredients, which I'll show you in a minute. Roll it up, and yada yada yada. So let's get started. Okay, so what I have here is my cutting board, and I have a piece of cellophane plastic right here. And I'm going to put the chicken on here, then I'm going to take this side, put it over the top, and then pound it out. But first we need to cut the chicken breasts in half. So this is two pretty decent sized chicken breasts. The tenderloin is still intact. They didn't separate that, which is great because I love that piece of meat. And we're going to butterfly it not all the way through and then pound it out. This is dried, so when I took it out of the cryovac, remember last video I told you what a cryovac is? That's a meat product that's been sitting inside of a vacuum sealed packaging, pretty much. As opposed to styrofoam on the bottom, and then somebody wrapped it with plastic on top and it sits in there. This is good in the cryovac. There's no air, no exposure to any type of airborne elements. It's a great product. So anyway, let's get this started. We're going to remove that product. If you see anything white on here, try to take it off. The white is usually a piece of fat, or it could be a vein, a ligament. Just depends on how they cut the breast. Now, just so you know, I know chicken breast is fairly expensive, especially if you go to a brand name grocery store. I can't mention that for obvious reasons, the names of the stores, but then you have your cheap stores. Again, I can't really mention their names, and I'm not sure how to reference them, but basically their markup on their product is cents on the dollar versus your brand name stores that are dollars on the dollar. So anyway, okay, so this entire piece right here, that's the breast. This is the breast. This piece right here is not the breast. This is actually the tenderloin. Okay, so if you've ever had chicken fingers, you're eating this because you purchased the breast as a breast and tenderloin. Cut that off, and they'll use this for whatever, and they'll use that basically for deep frying, whatever. This is a very, very tender piece of meat. This is a tenderloin. If you've ever had an entire chicken or a Cornish hen, and you deboned it, and you actually take come down the backbone, down the spine, and you debone it right up towards the joint right here. There is a little piece of meat. It's called an oyster. That oyster meat is very tender, and obviously they don't sell just oyster meats, but it's very tender. That's probably the best piece of meat you can get from this critter, from a chicken or a Cornish hen. Ever buy crab meat, and you want to make crab cakes? There's different types of crab. There's claw crab, there's lump. Same thing. I mean, the lump crab is probably the best you can get. Anyway, the reason why it's so expensive is because it's such a small piece of meat. They put it all together in a container. That's your lump crab. And they sell it as a big container, like a tuna fish can. And it's fairly expensive, but it's very good. So anyway, getting off topic here, let me get back on track. Remove your white pieces. You don't want to keep that. And now I'm going to lay this flat. Use a very sharp knife. And I'm going to open this up. I'm going to fillet it open. But I'm not going to go all the way through. I'm just going to go through right here. Keep this intact. Keep your hand on top. Okay. So here we are. Okay, we got a fillet piece of chicken. Butterfly. Here's that tender one I was telling you about. Just kind of sticks out, but we're going to keep that in here. I like to use all of my products. I don't want to waste anything. And on to the second breast nut. Okay, this little thing hanging off here, believe it or not, you know what this is? That's your oyster. This oyster is connected to your breast, to your tenderloin actually, to your breast by some ligament tissue, cartilage. Let's go right through it. I'm not going to use it, I'm going to discard it, but that's what it looks like. You know, actually when you touch it, it's very tender, almost like filet mignon. Okay, let's move on. Okay, here's our second butterfly. Get rid of this. I'm over here washing my hands. I do that every so often because I don't want to contaminate my food with any airborne pathogens or anything like that. I just like to keep my hands clean. Especially when you handle raw chicken or raw pork. Beef, you don't have to worry so much about, but the raw pork and chicken, be careful. Alright. Alright, well, thank you so much for waiting. Appreciate that. And now let's begin our pounding process. So again, this is just plastic wrap. Put this over a cutting board. Let's get a piece of chicken. Lay it down this way. Cover it with the plastic wrap. And pound it out. We're going to pound it with the jagged edge side, not the flat side. We'll do this afterwards, but we're going to do this one first. And this flattens it and tenderizes at the same time. Alright, so when you get to the end pieces, it's a little thicker where the bulbous part is, so you got to hit it a little bit harder. When I hit this, I don't just go straight down. I'm actually going down and then I push. So I go like that. very quickly. I'm just going, because if you just hit it straight down, it doesn't expand or anything. You want it to open up, because we're going to make a roulade. A roulade is a fancy term for a flattened piece of meat, and meat can be anything. It could be the scallopini of a salmon or a fish or chicken or beef or veal or whatever, lamb, goat, whatever you eat, deer, venison. But we're going to flatten it out. The cooking time is going to be cut in half if you do this properly. If you make a scallopini type cut meat, which is scallopini, just means it's really thin, very, very thin. You see how thin my pinky is? It's thinner than that. It's going to cook quick. You can see how I'm moving forward. And then obviously when you get to this piece, you want to hit it backwards. My technique is I don't hold it like this. I hold it like this. And then when I hit down, I let the hammer do all of the weight, because this is kind of heavy on the edge, on the end. So I don't really have to pound it. I just let the hammer do it. I just kind of fling it. Now, I don't think you can get these at the dollar store or $8 store. I don't want to do any free advertising here. I paid about $6 for this. Hold on, my battery thing just came up. Let me plug my battery in. Okay. So anyway, I paid about $6 for this. It's well worth it if you do this a lot. So it's a good investment. Now I'm flipping to the pounding side, to the flat side. And you can see our chicken breast went from this to this. And let's remove this plastic here. Transfer this to a plate. Okay, but this is very thin, so you have to be careful, because chicken cut thin is delicate. See how thin that is? That's what you want. There's one. On to number 2. Many people have pet peeves. Mine, I hate the smell of raw chicken. I can't stand it. I'm using the jagged edge. Using this actually tenderizes the meat. Another term for that is jacquarding, where they take beef product and they stick it through a machine with a bunch of needles and it pokes a bunch of holes in it. That's jacquarding. I'm doing that basically with this. Now I'm going to the flat edge. That's a song. Okay. And now we're going to stuff this, season it, and get this ready for the pan frying process, which I'm just now going to show you. Okay, so let's make this quick. Over here, my pan, turn this up, you want it fairly high, some oil in it, canola, vegetable, whatever you got, and get some out. That should actually be good. Oven, 400 degrees, preheat. And over here, by the way, this stuffing, you'll see the ingredients when I post it, attached to the vid. But this is basically smoked Gouda, mozzarella cheese, sour cream, spinach. This was frozen, so I had to heat it first. Frozen versus fresh. Buy frozen. If you want to save a couple dollars or a couple cents, buy frozen. It's the same freaking thing. Breadcrumbs. Fresh chopped up garlic. Finely chopped up garlic. Salt, pepper, and Parmesan or Parmesan cheese. And just mix it all together. And then we're going to do a little twist of our black pepper. I like black pepper. Salt. Now in this case, the salt isn't for flavor. The salt is to extract the flavor from our stuffing. Okay. And then we have sun-dried tomatoes. We're going to incorporate this into this as well. And I need to chop those up first. Okay, so here we have our stuffing. I told you before. Salt, pepper, spinach, smoked Gouda cheese, shredded Parmesan, not grated, shredded. Shredded mozzarella, some Italian breadcrumbs. You can use plain, but I use Italian. There's some nice, fresh, chopped up garlic in here. About 8 cloves. This is going to yield at least 10 people. Stuffing wise, that's about all you need. But I overstuff because that's what I do. But however you want to do it, it's up to you. But this is enough for about 10 people. 10 people means 5 breasts. Because when you make the roulade, you flatten it out, When you cook it, it's going to be about this long. Cut that in half. That's enough for one person. So 5 will be fine. Assuming you have at least between a 6 to 8 ounce size breast. Okay, just going to mix this up. Now, the final ingredient in here. Oh yeah, by the way, this has sour cream too. I think I said that before, but it's got sour cream. You can use creme fraiche. If you use creme fraiche, again, remember creme fraiche. And I'll post a video showing you how to make it. It's 2 tablespoons buttermilk. I'm sorry, 2 tablespoons, yes, of buttermilk, 1 tablespoon of heavy cream. The buttermilk will help the product ferment. Okay. If you want to be creative, add some bacon, add some prosciutto, whatever you want. Sun-dried tomatoes. So, let me turn this out. I have no idea what the measurement is on this. I just kind of eyeball it, so that looks like about 3½ teaspoons. I love sun-dried tomatoes, so the flavor, I love it. If you don't like it so much, then don't use so much. But anyway, so you want to mince this pretty much. You don't want big chunks. And again, watch your fingers. Okay, it's about ready. Okay, it's ready to go. Scoop it up. Okay. All right, clean kitchen, clean kitchen, clean kitchen. I'm gonna mix. Let me take my ring off. So here's our meat, and over here I have my pan. There we go. The oil. And some flour. So just so you know what we're doing, I'm gonna fill this up, roll it up, toss in the flour. I'm gonna fry it on the outside only, just to get it nice and brown. And when I'm done with that, put it in here, stick it in the oven, preheated 400 degrees, and cook it until the internal temperature is at least 165 degrees. That way nobody dies and transforms into zombies and stuff. Okay. You do not need to pre-season your chicken. This stuff will be flattened because the stuffing has everything in it. And trust me, once that explosion takes place, it's going to be great. So anyway, I'm doing this by hand. If your stuffing is too liquidy, you need to tighten it up. And the only way that would happen if it became too liquidy is if you added too much sour cream. If you follow my ingredients exactly, my portion sizes exactly, you should not have that problem. Okay. Okay. And again, you don't have to do this by hand. You can use a spoon if if you don't want to do it by hand. I like to because I like to make sure everything's incorporated. I like to feel what I'm working with. That's why I always wash my hands in between everything that I do. Okay. So we are back over here. So we're going to stuff this. You want to make sure it's stuffed long ways. Long ways that's long ways. The chicken breast will be a short end and a long end. Do the long end. So putting it right in the middle. Overlap it like this. Kind of tuck it in. And here is your roulade. That's a roulade. That will feed 2 people. Tuck in your edges. Kind of like a burrito. Or a fajita, or whatever you guys call it. Fajitas, fajitas. Quesadillas. Okay, remember we cover heat over here on. Let me adjust this so you can see. Oh, you can kind of see. And I'll show you in a minute. And now we're going to dust this in this flour. And we're going to brown it first, and then we're going to put it in the oven to finish. Make sure you dust the edges. Make sure you dust the ends. Everything you want to dust. When I brown this, I make sure I brown the seam first. You know, where you folded it up and you got that little seam right here, that little crease. Brown that side first. So therefore it connects and it molds together. Okay. Trench off the excess. Here we are. And here we go. Okay. I'm taking this right off the heat. The reason why I'm doing that is because it's not hot enough. Remember before I told you that if the temperature of your pot, of your pan, it's not hot enough, and you put your product on there, it's not gonna fry, it's not gonna brown, or it's called Maillard reduction or Maillard reaction. It's gonna braise. Braising is not what we want. Braising is a process you do when you slow cook, slow roast. We're not braising. So I need this to cook on the outside fast. So I'm gonna get my second one ready while that gets hot. Put it in our nice overstuffed mixture. Oh, and by the way, you see how I'm touching here, going here, touching here, going here, touching this, yada yada yada. That's called cross-contamination. So now that I've touched this raw chicken with my hands, and I've touched this with my hands, you cannot use this with anything else unless you cook it at least 165 degrees. You can say this, of course, but do not eat this raw. Do not eat this with anything below 165. You want to cook this over 165. Okay, now we're going to roll this up. A nice little roulade. And the sauce we're going to make for this, of course, this is chicken marsala. I call this overstuffed chicken marsala because I like to stuff my food with a lot of stuff. So we're going to brown it, finish it off in the oven. While this is in the oven, we're going to make our nice marsala wine sauce to go on top of it with mushrooms. I've got a nice rosemary, white rice rosemary side dish going on. It's going to be really good. And the sauce that we're going to pour over the top of it is going to be great. I am using the same flour that I use to make the Italian bread, which is the unbleached flour. It works just as well. Again, I don't like to waste anything. I want to use everything that I buy. Okay. Now, by doing this, you're going to create a crust. Very important. Do not be tempted to turn this over and look underneath to see what's going on. You want to keep this in that pan back behind me for at least on medium-high heat, at least 5 minutes. You want it to brown. If you move it, air gets between the heat utensil, which is your pan, and the product. And now your temperature has decreased, and you have to start over again. So you start braising this. That you don't want to braise this. I'm going to check my temperature by taking a piece of this. This is flour. And I'm going to sprinkle it. It's bubbling, which tells me this is ready. So let's bring this back. And okay. We're going to let this cook for about 5 minutes each side. When I say each side, there's 4 sides. There's not 2. There's 4. There's the bottom, top, and side to side. And I'm going to show you this real quick. Let me just wash my hands, and I'll be right back. Yeah, I want you to hear this so you can hear the food actually sizzling. And I'm not going to move this for a couple minutes because I want it to brown. And you just turn them each time to each side, to brown it each side. And I think we're ready, so I'm going to show you this real quick, how I'm going to do this. The reason why I use my hand is because I like to feel how far the temperature has risen from the pan. By squeezing it, I can feel the tenderness of it. It's really, really stiff. It's cooking too fast. If it's soft, it's not cooking enough. So I want almost the middle. And I can do that by, over practice, you use this piece of, I don't know what you call this, muscle, between your forefinger and your thumb. And when you hit this, this is how you can tell the difference between rare, medium rare, well done. Burgers, meat, whatever. Same thing with chicken and bloods. So I just know that what I'm looking for. Okay. It's firming up underneath, so now I'm going to flip it over. I'm on the sides right now. No, I didn't flip it 180. It's just on the side. So let that cook for a little bit. Okay, just want to show you this. Our chicken is now browned and sauteed on all the edges. Nice and brown. And from this point, I'm going to add a little bit of chicken stock to the bottom of the pan, because I don't want this to stick. Not too much, just a little bit. In the oven it goes. I did spray the bottom of the pan, by the way, with some non-stick spray. Goes in the oven, and this will stay in there until this internal temperature reads about 165. Well, not about. It reads 165 or above. There is no about with this, with chicken. You want to make sure it's 165 or above. And we're going to use this. It's an internal temperature gauge. Just stick it right in there. It'll tell me what the temperature is. Alright, so let me get my chicken stock, browned it off. Not a lot, just about that much. That's it. In the oven, in 165. Meanwhile, we're going to prepare our sauce. Okay. So for the sauce we need about a half a cup of Marsala wine. Button mushrooms. Okay, now you want to make sure you wash these. Again, dirt, E. coli, all that nasty stuff. All right. Onion. Again, a little one. This is 4 to 8 or 6 to 8 people is the yield. Is the serving size. It's the serving people. So this should be enough. That's about a half of a medium-sized onion. Now, normally you would use shallots for this, because we are going to make a slight reduction. Shallots do have a different flavor, but if you're not a connoisseur, just like people aren't with wine, you're not going to taste the difference. So, and that's my purpose. Simple ingredients. Shallots, you can get 3 or 4 at the store for a little over $1 something, almost $2. These you can get for like 59 cents a pound. So stick with your yellow onion. Alright, just had to get my knife. And what we're going to do is chop everything up. So let's chop up the onion. Again, we're going to do a small dice. Alright, so one half. This does take practice. If you're in the culinary field, and don't listen to what I have to say. But if you know what you're doing, if you don't know what you're doing, cut as slow as you can, because you don't want to cut your finger. I've cut my finger a couple times and it really hurts. I actually cut my pinky right to the nail. I came through right here, and it hurt so bad I was laughing. Alright, so now our mushrooms. The stems you don't want. Oh, you want not, okay. You just want to cut a portion of the stem. You want some of it, not all of it. So just take the bulk off, and the rest we're going to keep. And you're going to shave these. Here's how I shave them. You will probably go like this. Okay? The careful way, I will shave as such. Hold my knife like this by the bridge, or the spine or the backbone. And I'm going to use the tip right here to do all the work. This is a very sharp knife. This is a knife made in Switzerland. It's very sharp. If you have a dull knife, this is not going to work. So don't try it. So if you have that crap you get from that big bulk store or those dollar stores or whatever, it's not going to work. You need something sharp. Fine blade. Just like this. There's that. And you do this continuously until you finish all the mushrooms. As such. You can see it's all shaved. I'll do one more for you. Grab the bridge and you have to have a sharp knife, because if you don't, then you have to put pressure. And when you start putting pressure, that's when mistakes happen, because things can slip, your hand can slip, the blade can slip. If it doesn't go through smooth, don't do that. Just like I showed you, I'll do it one more time. Get that nub off. Just do it very smooth. Okay. I've got a few more to do, and then I'll show you what's next. Okay, now we're going to saute our mushrooms that I cut up. These are button mushrooms. Oops. And this is mixed with small diced onion, or the shallots. We're going to saute this first. Then after we saute it, we're going to create a reduction, almost what's called al sec. Al sec just means almost dry, with the Marsala wine. And again, this is a little over half a cup. Finished with heavy cream. That's our sauce for our chicken Marsala. So, come over here and show you this. Okay. Alright. Pan is on medium, quarter medium high. By the way, our chicken's still in the oven. Not there just yet, but almost. We're going to add some fat product, butter. And this is so we can saute our mushrooms and shallots. I'm adding 2 full tablespoons. Two full tablespoons of the butter. I'm actually going to move my camera over here so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. Okay, here we go. Okay, that's I would say a fair enough close-up. And I'm just melting the butter down real quick. Again, I'm on a medium, between medium and medium high, so the quarter between the medium and medium high. Oh yeah, this spoon is heat resistant, so when you see me drop it over the course of the videos, it does not melt or anything. It's a heat resistant spoon. Don't do this with your spoons. Never ever ever use a wooden spoon when you're cooking stuff like this. This is for baking only, baking product, pastry product. Don't use this with sauces, meats, anything else. Just baking. Okay, that butter's starting to sizzle. And if you don't know this already, when you cook butter a little bit longer past the sizzling process, it turns brown. When it turns brown, all of a sudden this almond nutty flavor comes out from the butter. So I'm not doing this now with this because this is chicken, but with meats and stuff, you want a darker butter with that almond flavor. It's pretty it's very good actually. Okay, so we're gonna add our button mushrooms. There's onions in here too. The shallots. Again, you want to cook this for a while because mushrooms naturally have liquid inside of it. So it's going to purge, if you remember when I told you about purging. So the liquid will come out, you'll see it, and then as you keep cooking it, it'll evaporate because of heat, obviously, evaporation, yada yada yada. So cook this for a while, let the liquid purge out, let it heat out. The shallots will be nice and sauteed by then. And then we're going to do a quick flambe with this Marsala wine. This is 18% alcohol content. So once I see this nice and reduced, this color is going to change. It's nice and almost white. I don't know what color we call this, but it's going to change to a more of a darker color. I'm going to turn this heat up real quick, and then I'm going to add this, and it's going to flambe. That's the alcohol cooking out of it. It's going to give the flavor, give this more flavor. It's going to be very, very good. Reduce the heat. I'm going to stir in my heavy cream, and then we're going to sauce our chicken marsala. So just make sure you keep stirring this. I'm not sure if you can see, but there's already liquid purging out of these mushrooms. We don't want that liquid. Because it's just water. Why do you want water in here? You don't. So let's get rid of it. Cook this for about, say, 8 minutes. Keep stirring every few minutes. And then we'll incorporate everything else. Okay, so I've removed the chicken from the oven. And I've reached that 165 temperature. Here's what it looks like. Okay. It's sauteed perfectly. It's a nice crust on the outside, and it's going to be perfectly delicious. So we're going to cut these in half. Now remember, this is a roulade because I pounded it out and rolled it up. And we're going to serve these as little tires, and I'll show you that. And over here, I have my mushrooms and onion shallots cooking. And all I'm really doing is just trying to get that liquid out of the mushrooms. This mushrooms is a fungus and it retains liquid. I think we're pretty good. So now I'm going to add my Marsala wine. For those of you really paying attention, if this was a gas burner as opposed to electric, And I did that. We'll use a scrape like this. The flame comes up over like that. I mean, it naturally does that. And this will just go and flare up. But not today. Okay, now I have some heavy cream I'm going to use. Okay, some heavy cream. That's going to finish out the product of the Marsala sauce. I'm actually going to transfer this to my cutting board because I told you about carryover. It's still cooking. Well, I want it to keep cooking, but I don't want it to keep cooking in this hot pan. Let's move this over. Okay. Okay, here's our chicken. I transfer it to a cutting board. I'm going to let this rest for a little bit out of the pan so it's not cooking in the pan. It's actually cooking in its natural environment. And over here sauteing these mushrooms and Marsala wine. Okay, let me move this over here again so you can see what's going on. Oops. Got my camera stand stuck on my pan. Okay. Okay. So I've added the Marsala wine, and I've added my mushrooms, shallots, sauteed for that. The alcohol is pretty much cooked out at this point. I'm going to finish this with some heavy cream. You want about 8 tablespoons. Okay. Mix this all together. We're going to bring that to a simmer. And in the meantime, I'm going to show you how we cut this chicken up. Okay. Make sure we can see the chicken. Okay. We're gonna do this right here on the cutting board. Wow, this is still pretty hot. And let me show you the tire arrangement that I'm talking about. So you should let this rest a little bit, at least 10 minutes. But for video purposes, I'm just going to do this real quick so you can see. So here's your tire arrangement. Now we're going to add our rice. All I'm doing right now is just stirring up the Marsala sauce. This rice is pre-cooked. We made this a while ago. It's basically white rice, olive oil, and some fresh rosemary. Okay, I apparently made a mess. Go. Here's our dish, our platter. And now I'm going to sauce it. Here's our Marsala, chicken Marsala sauce. This has the mushrooms, the shallots, Marsala wine that I told you we reduced to almost all sec, and some heavy cream. We're going to spoon that right over the chicken like this. Make sure you get some broth. And a little broth. The rice does not hurt. There you have it. Chicken Marsala. Thank you for watching. And I really hope you tune in next time. Remember, July 28th is going to be a big day. I'm going to be cooking a lot of things. And I really hope you tune in to watch and see what I have to do. So thanks again, and I'll see you later.